Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:01. Can I have a moment of silence, please? Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call. Mr. Kenny?
Here.
Ms. Blystein?
Here.
Mr. Bromhall?
Here.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Ms. Iacone?
Here.
Mr. Meeker?
Here.
Mrs. Trompe? Mrs. Tops?
Here.
Ms. Fitzwater? Here. Statement is hereby made that adequate notice of this meeting was given by submission of said notice to the Burlington County Times, the Courier Post, the Cinnaminson Township Clerk, and the district website on the following date, January 17th, 2024. Moving down to Section 4, routine business, we have the Secretary's report for August of '24, the Treasurer's report for August of '24, the Receipts and Appropriations Adjustment for August of '24, the monthly transfer report for August of '24, the high school activities report for September of '24, the food service management cost performance statement for September of '24, certified bill list for October of 2024, the approval of minutes, the regular session 9/24/24. Mr. Kenny, can I have a motion to approve Section 4, routine business items A through H?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Meeker?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Moving on to Section 5, routine matters. We have the enrollment report as of October 11th, 2024, the health report for September of '24, the fire alarm report for September of '24, the crisis drill report for September, and the superintendent's monthly report. Mr. Capello.
Thank you, Mrs. Fitzwater. Thank you, members of the board. Thank you, members of the public, for being here this evening. In just a little bit, we're going to be treated to a presentation by Dr. Goulburn, so I will try to keep my remarks relatively brief so that we can focus our efforts on the important information that he is going to share. I'd like to congratulate Mr. Creel and the staff over at the high school. Last week, our students took part in the PSATs, and this was the second administration of an all-digital PSAT, and congratulations to them on a successful administration. For those of you who frequent our board meetings, you may recall last year I named October the month of weeks because there are so many different celebratory weeks, and we started out the month of October. It was Spirit Week at the high school, and I suspect we might get an update on that from our high school rep, but a very spirited and great week at the high school. The first Monday in October begins the week of Respect, and all of our schools had some fabulous activities for the Week of Respect, and some of those themed activities can be seen on our social media. The 6th through the 12th is Fire Prevention Week. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the members of the Cinnaminson Fire Department who always have a presence in our schools, and they were in attendance at the New Albany School and Memorial School, and whenever they show up, our kids are enamored by everything fire department. And finally, October 23rd through the 31st, always the last week of October, is Red Ribbon Week, where we recommit to keeping students and our schools drug-free. I'd also give a special thank you to our second grade teachers who helped organize the first major field trip of the year. This past week, our second graders visited Pennsbury Manor, where they took part in various different station activities, including animal care, cooking, housing, medicine, and they also learned to write with a quill pen, which is a unique skill. Some calendar items coming up. We're looking forward to the annual Water Festival, which will take place at the Palmyra Cove this coming Thursday. That's always a hit with our students. New Albany School, the Rush School will be hosting a math and literacy night this coming Thursday, 24th, on the 24th at 6:30 p.m. And of course, our annual Halloween parades. More information will be coming out from the schools, but those are always a fun celebration, and especially now that we celebrate at the Memorial School, New Albany, and the Rush School. I do have a couple of hot-off-the-press items. So while we're here, I did want to recognize, because I don't know that it made the high school report, for girls tennis, our second doubles team of Sadie Berdoff and Grace Gonzalez were the winners of the BCSL tournament today, beating Morristown, which is always a great thing, 6-4, 6-4. I'd also like to recognize our other doubles team of Eva Quinn and Carly Marinelli, who were finalists in the doubles events as well. So congratulations to them. And finally, also happened earlier today, I'd like to recognize Mr. McMullen, who's in the audience this evening, along with Kathy Justin, who presented at the New Jersey Science Convention. Mr. McMullen, what was the topic of the presentation?
Mr. Justin and I presented 10 of our classroom projects that we do throughout the year, plus our 9 STEM projects. Shared them with the audience of 36-plus teachers, administrators, and then gave them copies of everything we did, so they can go back and turnkey it right in their classroom.
Fantastic. Congratulations. I understand it was well attended and very well received, so congratulations. And I did look back on my remarks last year just to make sure I didn't miss anything, and I closed my remarks last year with a Go Phillies. So that's the end of my remarks.
Womp womp. Ms. Iacone, can I have a motion to approve Section 5 routine matters, items A through E?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Topps. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Meeker?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. Moving on to the student representative reports. First from the high school, we have Gwen Chikonsky.
Good evening, everyone. The students of the month for September are as follows. Class of 2025, Donovan Wilkinson. Class of 2026, Dylan Hutchcraft. Class of 2027, Raisa de Almerida. Class of 2028, Connor Jenkins. The athletes of the month for September are as follows. Junior, Nora Quinn of the girls' soccer team, and senior, Sadi Gant of the football team. Fall sports teams are continuing their seasons. For football, the team's record is 3-4 after their senior night game against Glassboro last Friday night. The boys' soccer team record is 10-2-1 after defeating Delran on Thursday and securing the 2024 Liberty Division Championship. The girls' soccer team record is 9-2-2. Their senior night is next Tuesday against Bordentown. For field hockey, the team's record is 8-4. Their next game is the 19th against Bordentown. Girls' tennis had their senior night and breast cancer awareness game on Wednesday, October 9th. The team's record is 7-7. The boys' cross-country team moves up to the 6th place in SJTCA coaches poll after strong showing at Shore Coaches Meet. The girls' cross-country team performed well at the New Balance Shore Coaches Invitational at Homedale Park. Special recognition to Jemiah Massenberg on her medal in the freshman race. This past weekend, they participated at Dream in Logan Township, New Jersey, with personal bests for Jenna Kirsten, Emmy Keyports, and Jayla Jenkins. Girls volleyball defeated Delran on their senior night on Wednesday, October 8th, and improved their record to 13-5 after their win against Camden on Monday. Sam Danowski had 14 assists, which put her over 300 assists for her career. Last week, Unified Soccer had a great game against Morristown. Congratulations to the following officers of the 2024-2025 Unified Club. Presidents Sarah Del Grippo and Merv Karaman, Vice Presidents Grace Morris and Ashley Chen, Secretaries Olivia Gola and Alex Chomez, Social Media Ambassadors Quinn Barnes and Kieran Gallagher. The marching band has been doing an amazing job all season, but yesterday they took first place with a 90.11 and an award in high percussion. For Student Council, at the end of an exciting Spirit Week, the results were announced at the homecoming dance on Saturday, October 5th, in the Commitment Gym. In fourth place were the freshmen with 205 points. In third place were the juniors with 250 points. In second place were the sophomores with 256 points. And the Spirit Week winners were the seniors with 310 points. Congratulations to the following officers of the 2024-2025 Spanish Club. President Grace Gonzalez, Vice President Emily Renoff, Secretary Ryan Week, and Social Media Ambassador Holly Kirsten. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen. From the middle school now, we'll hear the student representative, Noah Bundy.
Thank you and good evening to all of you. The Student of the Month core value for September was perseverance. The students of the month are 6th grader Anthony Walks, 7th grader Gabby Moyer, and 8th grader Sierra Morris. Our faculty member of the month was Mrs. Crowley, 8th grade reading teacher. Congratulations to all. Our school supported Relay for Life in September by wearing purple in honor of Mrs. Morescu's Purple Pirate team. The Shock Club is celebrating Socktober by collecting donations of new socks for the senior citizens of Cinnaminson. The sock drive will run until October 31st, and collection boxes will be outside the main office. The Unity Club is partnering with Foster Love to donate and assemble our goal of 40 sweet cases for local children entering the foster care system. Over the next 2 weeks, Unity Club will be collecting monetary and physical donations to reach our goal. You will see the students at upcoming sporting events collecting donations as well. Once the fundraiser closes, Unity Club will meet and assemble sweet cases, which will include a duffel bag filled with essential items for the child. Unity has also been fundraising at the CMS athletic events. They raised over $1,500 for this worthwhile cause. Athletic teams and the Unity Club will assemble the bags. As I mentioned in the last board meeting, October is a busy month. During the first week of October, our middle school students participated in the Week of Respect, a week full of activities geared towards building character and preventing bullying. Students completed an activity highlighting important themes such as the power of individual action, hope and optimism, and responsibility and compassion. On Monday, October 7th, our 6th graders enjoyed a trip to Pinsetter's Bowling Alley. They had a blast. This Friday is our harvest dance for 7th and 8th graders only. It will be held at CMS from 6 to 8. Permission slips and money are due by Thursday. On Monday, October 21st, the 6 elected student council representatives will participate in Youth and Government Day. During the day, students will visit the Cinnaminson Municipal Building and Police Department. The students will take a tour and learn about the function and role of each department in the building. The students will meet the stakeholders from the building and run the meeting at 6:30 p.m. that night. Fall sports are continuing, and the student athletes are having a fun and successful season so far. The girls A field hockey team is 4-1-5. Girls B team is 3-2-5. The boys A soccer team is 6-3. Additionally, the boys B soccer team is 4-5. The girls A soccer team is also 4-5. The girls B soccer team is 5-0. The cross-country teams are doing well. The boys and girls cross-country program is an impressive 14-5, and we are waiting on the results for yesterday's meet at Kingsway Middle School. Overall, all fall sports teams are doing amazing and working hard to improve each week. Red Ribbon Week will be held the last week of October. There will be activities supporting drug abuse awareness as well as a dress-up theme for each day. This year's theme for Red Ribbon Week is Life is a Movie, Film Drug-Free. Each year, the Stop Club and Student Council team up to make this initiative more meaningful by combining Red Ribbon Week and Spirit Week. This year, the week-long event will take place from Monday, October 28th to Friday, November 1st. Students will complete a homeroom activity about this year's theme. Spirit Week themes are as follows. Monday, October 23rd, you're too super to mess with drugs. Wear your favorite superhero costume, shirt, or accessories. Tuesday, October 24th, don't let drugs get in the way of your dreams. Wear your favorite Disney accessory, shirt, socks, or even dress like your favorite Disney character. Wednesday, October 25th, team up against drugs and wear your favorite team jersey, shirt, or colors. Thursday, October 26th, say boo to drugs and wear your Halloween costume to school. Friday, October 27th, the spirit of a great movie never gets old. Show CMS remaining drug-free by showing your pirate pride spirit. We will once again be holding our Take a Veteran to School Day celebration on Friday, November 1st. CMS students will be encouraged to invite a family member or friend who is a veteran or an active member of the military. We will hold a breakfast in the cafeteria for our guests, followed by the Veterans Recognition Program, which will include speeches, musical performances, and a gun salute by the visiting VFW members. Information about the event was sent home last week. This concludes my report. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you, Noah. Both of you did a great job. Thank you for all of that good information. Now we're going to move on to Section 7, presentations, and we're going to hear from Dr. Goldburn.
All right, thank you very much. Back in August, we did our assessment results for the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment, and this month we have the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment for grades 3 through 9, as well as some AP test results from Cinnaminson High School for last school year. I will do my best to be succinct and to the point. There is a lot of information, though. All right. So each year, we administer the NJSLA to students in grades 3 through 9. We do so because it's mandated in federal law, the Every Student Succeeds Act, which was previously known as No Child Left Behind, which says that students are to be assessed annually in grades 3 through 8, and once in high school, New Jersey has elected that 9th grade is the grade in high school. We received the official scores around the end of August. We received the individual score reports for students and their families around September 15th, and those score reports were published in the Genesis Parent Portal shortly thereafter. The test itself, the students take a test in both English, language arts, and mathematics. Scores range from 650 to 850 with varying levels assigned to each, the different number ranges. This presentation that we're doing here tonight is actually a CUSAC requirement. We would do it regardless, but CUSAC mandates a couple of components of this presentation, one of which is to say the participation rates for each school. And you can see them right there. In grades 3, 4, and 5 last year, 98.4% of Rush students took the exam, 97.5% at Cinnaminson Middle School, 99.1% of 9th graders took the exam. So the next couple of slides, and there are a couple, what we will see are some line graphs showing some historical data as to how our students did 3rd grade, 4th grade, all the way up through 9th grade. And the Cinnaminson score, the passing rate, the percentage of students who pass the test will be in red, and because Cinnaminson is red and black, and the percentage of students in New Jersey who pass the test will be in green. The hope, the goal, the expectation that we always have is that the red will be higher than the green. So off we go. So this is our 3rd grade ELA passing rate. Across the state of New Jersey, when it comes to language arts, the 3rd grade test is the one that traditionally has had the lowest passing rate, and they tend to creep up incrementally. We can see here, looking back over the last 5 administrations of this test. So all the way to the left was 2018, followed by 2019, a gap for 2 years. We know why. Resumed testing in 2022. 2024, last spring's administration of the test, is all the way to the right. 45% of 3rd graders last year passed that assessment, and we see right below it, 44% of 3rd graders statewide passed that particular test. Moving on to 4th grade, we can see that 57% of 4th graders last year passed the NJSLA, and we see the state passing rate there slightly below. 5th grade, 57% of students passed the NJSLA compared to 52. We should always point out that this is based on a year's worth of information from September to June. Science, it's actually 3 years. We'll get to that in a moment. But this is a year's worth of state standards that students are asked to demonstrate proficiency on. So 57% in 5th grade. Cinnaminson Middle School, last year, 6th grade, 63% of the students passed the exam. We can see somewhat of a steady gap there between the state passing rate and our own. 7th grade, 66% of the students passed the exam last year compared to 54% of 7th graders statewide. And in 8th grade, last year's 8th graders, 58% of them passed the test. 53% of 8th graders across the state passed the 8th grade ELA exam. And then the last test that students take in ELA, 9th grade, 72% of the freshmen last year passed the test compared to 58% statewide. If we were to go back to August's presentation, the 11th graders last year that took the NJGPA, 94% of them passed the test. So we appreciate the upward climb that we tend to see from third grade all the way up through Cinnaminson High School. Switching to math now, we see there 60% of our third graders scored at level 4 or 5 last year in the NJSLA math portion of the test. Passing rate is 48%. You'll see, surprisingly, in the previous group of results for language arts, the state passing rate crept up every single grade from 3rd to 9th. You'll actually see the opposite happen statewide, not in Cinnaminson. Statewide, the passing rate, 48 is the peak number. It will slowly go down all the way to 20% in 8th grade. Again, not in Cinnaminson, but statewide. So these tests are more challenging, and we do know that, coming out of the pandemic, that the mathematics tended to be more adversely affected than ELA. 4th grade mathematics test, 58% of the students passed the exam, 45% statewide. In 5th grade, 64%, almost 2/3 of the 5th graders passed the exam. Passing rate in the state was 40%. By the way, I do acknowledge I'm going somewhat quickly. This presentation will be on the district webpage either tomorrow or Thursday. Anybody wants to take a deeper dive. 6th grade, NJSLA, 49%, around 50% of our students passed. 36%, you see the numbers for the state continue to trickle down. 36% of 6th graders statewide passed the test, almost 50 here in Cinnaminson. 7th grade math, which has had, as you can look back to the left, has had a turbulent time. We see going all the way back to 2018, above the state passing rate, below, above, below, and bam, a 20-point jump. 52% of our 7th graders were successful, level 4 or 5 last year. There were some programmatic changes that happened at the middle school that went into effect last year that allotted some more instructional time. We could assume that there's some sort of relationship there. We can't say with any definitive measure that it caused the outcome, but likely a relationship as to why there were more students who were proficient. 8th grade, statewide, 20% of students passed the exam, 22% in Cinnaminson. I put an asterisk next to 8th grade. 8th grade is when there is a bit of a divergence in the tests that are given. Last year in 8th grade, there were about 40 students who took honors algebra here at Cinnaminson Middle School. Those students do not take the 8th grade NJSLA. They take the Algebra 1 test. So there was like I said, a group of 40 students who, along the way from 3rd grade up through 7th, had taken the test with their classmates. But in 8th grade, those students were taking a totally different test. Algebra 1, this is about 48th graders and about 180 9th graders at Cinnaminson High School who took this exam last year. 53% of them passed the exam. 40% was the statewide passing rate. And the last NJSLA test for math was geometry. 88% of 9th graders who were in geometry passed the test. You're probably wondering why there is such a steep climb from the left to the right. Before COVID, the NJSLA was given to freshmen and sophomores. So if you were a freshman, you took the Algebra 1 test or geometry. If you were in honors geometry, if you were a sophomore, you took geometry, or you perhaps were in honors algebra 2. After COVID, they changed it, and the only students who take the NJSLA now at Cinnaminson High School are 9th graders. So the only students at Cinnaminson High School who are taking geometry are pretty much in honors geometry, and with an 88% acceptance, not acceptance rate, passing rate, that would make sense. All right, student groups. The No Child Left Behind Act said all the way back in 2004, we can't just focus on the whole group. We need to disaggregate the data and look at different individual groups of students within the population to see if anyone is lagging behind. we report any group in which there's more than 10 students. So the first group that we're going to look at here are based on race, and these are all groups in which there were at least 10 students who took the NJSLA from grades 3 through 9. So we look to the left, that is Cinnaminson. We look to the right, that is the state of New Jersey. You'll notice on the left there are 4 sets of bars from 1819 to 2324. On the right, there are only 3 because New Jersey doesn't release the demographic information until usually their December State Board of Education meeting. But if we look at these charts here, blue represents students who are Asian, red, African-American students, yellow is Hispanic, green, white, and the orange color is bi or multiracial students. So we can see there, if we look all the way to the right on the first chart, which is on the left, I'll read the numbers here because I know they're hard to see. 72% of Asian students passed the ELA portion of the test, 35% of African American, 48% of Hispanic students, 62% of white students, 72% of students who are bi or multiracial, right? We can kind of look from right to left on the chart on the left and see that that pattern has more or less repeated itself over the past couple of years. And if we look to the state percentages to the right, we see a very similar pattern, and we certainly note the existence of an achievement gap that we can see there when we look at English language arts. We will see something similar to that in math. I'll get to that in a moment, and in a few minutes talk about what we can do. Other subgroups that we have are here in 3 different colors. Again, we had at least 10 students who were receiving special education services, students who have an IEP. That is coded there in blue. Students who are English language learners in our multilingual learner program, they are in red. And the yellow is students who are economically disadvantaged, which in the state of New Jersey, is students who receive free or reduced lunch. Right, and we can see there in the 2023-2024 school year, again, I know it's hard to see, I'll read it aloud, 23% of students in grades 3 through 9 passed the ELA portion of the exam, 4% of students in the multilingual learner program passed the exam, 41% of students who are economically disadvantaged passed the exam. Typically, students who are multilingual learners during their very first year in our school, they are exempt from taking the language arts portion of the test. You would understand because of the language challenges that exist. But again, we see 4 years of Cinnaminson on the left, statewide numbers there on the right. Let's take a look at mathematics. Again, looking there on the left is Cinnaminson. The right are the statewide numbers, similar trends that we saw on the ELA slide a moment ago. But last year, 64% of students who were Asian passed the exam, 23% of African American students, 34% of Hispanic students, 59% of white students, 54% of students who are bi or multiracial. Again, we see the evidence of an achievement gap. We'll talk about that momentarily. Going back to the other groups that we have here, students with an IEP, special education students, we see in blue there. Last spring, 22% of students with an IEP in grades 3 through 9 scored at a level 4 or 5. 14% of students in the multilingual learner program, 31% of students who are economically disadvantaged passed the exam. Again, as I said a few moments ago, all this information will be on our school district website for people to take a look at if they so choose. The NJSLA is also given in science, and the federal law says that it should be administered in grades 5, 8, and 11. And in grades 5, students are assessed on 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade science. In the middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade science. So this is like a final exam on steroids. 11th grade, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, and it's conceivable there's some material they may not even be exposed to until their senior year, which is one of the real challenges that exists in New Jersey for this test being given in 11th grade. Different scoring plan than the NJSLA. It goes from 100 to 300. 4 levels of proficiency as opposed to 5 in the ELA and math portion of the test. Why that is, I couldn't tell you, but here we go. So this is, again, based on 3 years' worth of information. So this is certainly exceptionally challenging, but we see last year, 5th graders at Rush School, 42% of them passed the science portion of the test, 28% of the students in the state of New Jersey, tens of thousands of 5th graders who took the test, were passing. NJSLA in 8th grade, last year, Cinnaminson Middle School, 17% of 8th graders passed the exam. Statewide, the passing rate was 19%. And lastly, in 11th grade, 34% of juniors last year passed the science portion of the exam. 28% of students statewide passed this exam. Again, exceptionally challenging, 3 years worth of material. So we look at the subgroups again. You'll notice that the multiracial group is no longer there because there were less than 10, so therefore we don't report it in this particular portion of the presentation. We can see there last spring, 38% of white students, 8% of African American, 15% Hispanic, 36% white scored at a level 4 or 5. We see similar passing rates off to the right there statewide. And for special education students, 12% of them passed the exam. 0 students in the multilingual learner program passed the exam, and 20% of students who were economically disadvantaged passed the science portion of the test. So what do we do with this information? So we receive statements in ELA and mathematics from the Department of Education that says, they don't tell you what the exact question was, but they'll say that this question was based on this standard, and for example, 55% of your students got the question right. And oh, by the way, statewide, 40% of kids got it right. And on the other hand, this question was based on this standard, 20% of your kids got it right, 35% of the kids statewide passed. So in that case, why are we lagging behind? So these reports come out, again, for ELA and math. Unfortunately, they don't produce them for science. And teachers use time during their department meetings, faculty meetings, professional development day to look at this information and try to, learn what particular areas were we successful at, and perhaps ones where more attention needs to be focused. We offer after-school tutoring. We have Title I money that we receive from the federal government through the state of New Jersey that takes place in grades 1 through high school, and we will be offering that again starting in the month of November. Teachers also use some of this information for their own small group instruction that they have in their classrooms to work with students at different ability levels to meet their individual needs. And we give benchmark exams multiple times a year that our teachers receive feedback on that they can, again, also use in their small groups to help point students in the right direction. Looking specifically at the certain subject areas, information that we received back for ELA at the Rush School was a bit of a more focus on writing skills. They've had a comprehensive reading program there for a number of years. Again, it is a reading program, though. So adding some more time where it exists for writing skills, which lagged a bit behind the state. At the middle school, some of the standards that they wanted to focus more attention on had to do with reading nonfiction text that is rooted in science or technology. Everybody loves to read literature and stories, but a lot of times the reading passages on these tests are based on historical information or science or technical information. So that is an area of focus there. And in 9th grade, there was one standard that was just a smidge below, and it had to do with the development, how a theme and how characters change over the course of a literary text. So Mrs. Melcher will be working with the high school teachers on that. Mathematics at Rush School, some of the standards that were slightly below had to do with data and measurement. At the middle school, probability and statistics, so Ms. Barrett and the teachers will find ways to weave that in throughout the year where it's appropriate. There weren't really many standards at all that were below at the high school, so we will continue. Mr. Gorman has a nice setup with extra support for our students in need during the lunch period, but providing extra support for students who need it. And lastly, in science, trying to just do a better job of making sure that our classroom assessments mirror some of the types of questions that students will see on the exam. All right. So again, New Jersey is not very good at publishing different type of what the questions look like, nor do we expect them to show us the actual questions, but they haven't put any new ones out in about 5 or 6 years. But our teachers will work to come up with questions that are similar to the ones that they'll see on the exam, so they're not shell-shocked when they're taking the test in May. All right, that's the NJSLA. One slide left. Cinnaminson High School each year offers an array of AP tests. Last year there were AP courses. Last year there were 19 AP courses offered. In the month of May, there were 209 tests that were taken, and students who get a level 3 have passed the exam. Level 4 and 5 means that students may possibly receive credit at certain colleges. Some colleges take them, some colleges don't. Of the 209 tests that were taken, 63% of the students, excuse me, not 63%, 63 tests were at a level 4, 37 tests were at a level 5. So those scores there would likely allow a student to get some credit depending on what college or university they choose to go to. Students should always reach out to their counselor or individual colleges to be mindful of whether or not credit will be awarded before they pay, and they actually have to pay and register for these tests in the next couple of weeks. Some of the tests that had more than 10 students, again, if it's less than 10, we don't talk about it publicly, but some of the tests that had more than 10 students that had high average scores was Calculus AB. Average score of the many students who took that test was a 4. English Literature, which is the 12th grade AP course, was a 3.9. World History was 3.85. Statistics, 3.73. There were other tests that had numbers like that and higher, but there were fewer than 10 students who took the exam, so we don't report it publicly. So that is my last presentation for the 3 months in a row. Does anyone have any board members have any questions about any of the information that was shared?
I just have the extra math that we were doing in the middle school. Are we continuing that this year?
Yes, and we'll see what year 2 brings. All right, well, thank you all for your attention. My voice is getting scratchy, but, we did it's always good to see improvement, but there's always room for growth each year. So thank you all for your attention.
Thanks, Dr. Goldberg.
Thank you, Dr. Goldberg. We're moving on to Section 8, correspondence to the board. Anyone have anything to share this month? Okay. Moving on to committee reports. We had one committee meeting. The Curriculum and Activities Committee met this month, and Mr. Kenny will give us the report on that.
Yep, thank you. The Curriculum and Student Activities Committee met virtually on October 8th. Committee members reviewed a proposal from the high school to pilot electronic ticket sales for high school athletic events this coming winter season. The committee also heard from the high school administration about the need to create a spectator code of conduct. This will be referred to the Policy Committee for review. The committee reviewed the preliminary HIB grades for the 23-24 school year, and the committee members reviewed professional development and field trip requests, as well as 2 curriculum maps for high school family and consumer science courses. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Mr. Bromhall, can I have a motion to approve the committee reports, letter A?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Blystein. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Ms. Topps?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. Moving on to Section 10, public comments. Members of the public are reminded that comments should be limited to items appearing on this meeting's agenda. There will be another opportunity during this meeting to comment on non-agenda items. All members of the public wishing to speak on agenda items should raise their hand to indicate their wish to speak. When called upon, participants should state their first and last name and address clearly for the record. In accordance with Cinnaminson Board of Education Bylaw 0164.6, comments will be limited to a maximum of 4 minutes per person. The comment period will be limited to 30 minutes in duration. With that said, do we have anyone who wants to comment on any of the agenda items?
Hi, sorry, I left my notes at home, I ran out. So, two things. When we were going through the statistics, one of the points was geometry, and it was said that the reason the scores went up is because we only gave them to freshmen and not freshmen and sophomores. Does that mean that when we gave it to freshmen and sophomores, the scores were lower? And then we eliminated the sophomores and the scores went up?
Could you ask that question again? I'm not sure I'm understanding.
So
exactly
on
what you're
the
asking.
statistics for geometry,
Yeah.
one of the comments was that the scores increased. But then the follow-up was that we used to give that test to freshmen and sophomores, and now we only give it to freshmen. You can assume, right, that, so we eliminated the sophomores and that caused the score to drastically go up? So then I have a question then, are the sophomores getting worse in geometry than the freshmen are?
Well, there could be a number of reasons that contribute to that, and again, it's not us not reporting those scores. The state only requires the 9th grade scores to be reported. If you were to disaggregate the data and look at when the students actually take geometry, it is not a unique trend to Cinnaminson that generally the higher success rates, the earlier the students take geometry tends to yield higher successes. We can't, so we only report who's 10 or higher, but so with the students who are taking geometry even in 8th grade are yielding a higher score overall, and again, it's not unique to Cinnaminson than students who are taking geometry later in their academic career. Not to apply any qualitative reason for it, but generally, some of our top performing students have a faster math track or will wind up, taking more advanced math courses along their high school career than some of their peers. Again, I'm happy to meet with you if you want. It's easy. I can lay them out on the table and I can explain to you.
Just food for thought, like that just from.
But I hope you're understanding what I'm saying.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm just a little concerned with that.
And math is unique in that way, in that the content spirals, and students may be taking geometry as an 8th grade versus others who may be taking 10th or 11th grade. It's just, math is one of those subjects where you may find students taking different years.
And then just out of curiosity, I know you're only exploring the code of conduct for spectators, but just playing devil's, how would you enforce that? I mean, like, I understand if somebody gets rowdy, they get escorted out of the stadium, out of the event, but, I mean, how would you really enforce a code of conduct for spectators? Are we going to start expelling parents from attending events? I mean, I'm just a little... I tried to look at other schools if they had one, and it's really hard. It's usually like a college-level thing.
So, not to interrupt you, but I promise you will be seeing them from every district. It's an NJSI requirement to develop a spectator code of conduct. So, we obviously have expectations right now in regard to who is attending our games. These are students, athletes, and for the most part, 99.99% of the time, everybody that's in attendance
is good.
Is great. But unfortunately, every now and then, and it could be a spectator from Cinnaminson or could be a spectator from one of our guests, and if they, violate that, then we would look at what.
Fully understand that. I'm not opposed to it, don't get me wrong. I'm just wondering how one would be enforced and just putting that out there.
There's some recommended guidelines.
Okay, where can we find those guidelines?
So again, this is a mandate from NJSIAA, so again, as Mr. Kenny explained, it'll be referred to our policy committee, and we'll have a sample up for 2 readings, just like any other.
Will it be redlined?
It won't be redlined, but I can provide.
Can we do
well,
the
it'll be a
crossouts
brand
and
new
the
policy,
bolds
so
as
there'll be no lines.
Oh, there is no lines, correct, because it's new, never mind. And then another point is you conveniently printed 1 page out of the BCIT contract with what we pay to that school, and it's very misleading, right? There's 1 page pullout of that contract. I'm sure that contract is a lot longer than 1 page, and it could mislead somebody to think that the entire tuition that we pay to BCIT per student is like $3,000. So if we released 1 page we maybe should release the whole contract, because it's public information, so that the parent and whoever lives in this town can get a holistic view of what that actually costs. Because in reality, if we're paying $3,000 a student to BCIT, let's send all of our kids there and save some money. I mean, it's a little slightly misleading. So it would be great if you printed the whole thing and released the whole contract. But thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments on agenda items? Okay, we are moving on to Section 11, Personnel, Certified and Non-Certified. Mr. Capello.
Thank you, Mrs. Fitzwater. Under Section 11, Letter A, Appointments and Reappointments, seeking the board's approval on items 1 through 3 for certificated staff and item 4 for non-certificated staff. Under Letter B, Transfers, there are 2 items for the board's consideration and approval. Under Letter C, Resignations and Retirements, there are 4 names in the agenda for the board's consideration. Under Letter D, Extra Duty Appointments, seeking the board's approval for items 1 through 4 as listed in the agenda. Under Letter E, Leaves of Absence, there are 3 listed by employee number in the agenda. Under Letter F, Teacher Overloads, there is 1 teacher overload proposed for board for consideration this evening. And we have nothing under Letter G. Under Mentor Teachers, seeking the board's approval of item number 1 as listed in the agenda. Student Teachers, under Letter I, there is 1 name for consideration for the board for approval this evening. And under Letter J, seeking the board's approval for items numbers 1 and 2 with names listed in the agenda. And finally, under Letter K, seeking the board's approval of items 1 and 2 as listed in the agenda. And that is personnel, Mrs. Fitzwater.
Thank you, Mr. Capello. Mr. Evans, can I have a motion to approve Section 11, Personnel, Certified, Non-Certified, items A through K?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Ms. Topps?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion approved. Moving on to Section 12, Curriculum and Instruction. Dr. Goldburn.
Thank you very much. Under number 12, letter A, professional development requests, those are attached. Under letter B, requesting approval of numbers 1 and 2. Nothing under letter C this month. Under letter D, number 1, letters A and B. Letter E, the monthly HIB report is attached. Under letter F, the monthly suspension report as attached. And under letter G, the submission of the school's preliminary HIB grades for the 2023-2024 school year to the NJDOE. These are developed by, each school has a committee that reviews it's a 40-page rubric with point totals that could add up to 78, and we see the different school totals that are there. So, Mrs. Fitzwater, those are the curriculum instruction recommendations for this month.
Thank you, Dr. Goldburn. Ms. Blystein, can I have a motion to approve Section 12, Curriculum and Instruction, items A through G?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Meeker. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Ms. Topps?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion approved. Moving on to Section 13, Special Education. Mrs. Llewellyn?
Thank you, Mrs. Fitzwater. Under letter A, contracts, seeking the board to approve 1 contract with the New Jersey Commission of the Blind and Visually Impaired to provide level 1 services for 1 student. And number 2, seeking the board to approve an agreement with Burlington County Educational Services Unit to provide services for 2 one-to-one teacher assistants for 2 students. Under letter B, student placements, there are none. Under letter C, consultant agreement, seeking the board to approve 2 consultant agreements as requested by the district for the 2024-25 school year at the rates listed in the agenda. Number 1, Thomas O'Reilly, MD, to provide psychiatric evaluations. And number 2, Out of Sight Teaching, LLC, to provide teacher of the visually impaired services. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Llewellyn. Mr. Meeker, can I have a motion to approve Section 13, Special Education, items A through C?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Blystein. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Ms. Topps?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion approved. Moving on to Section 14, there are no policies to approve this month. Moving on to Section 15, Business and Finance, Mr. Capello.
Thank you, Mrs. Fitzwater. Members of the board, Mrs. Livingood sends her regrets. So I am carrying her section for this evening under Section 15, letter A, seeking the board to approve items 1 through 4. They are listed in the agenda. Under letter B, Finance, seeking the board to approve items 1 and 2 as listed in the agenda. Under Operations, seeking the board to approve items 1 through 5. Those items are listed in the agenda. And under letter D, Contracts, seeking the board to approve items 1 through 5 as listed in the agenda. That's Business and Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Capello. Ms. Topps, can I have a motion to approve Section 15, Business and Finance, items A through D?
Aye. So moved.
Good job. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Comments or questions from the board?
I did that before.
Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Meeker?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. Moving on to Section 16, Other Business, Board of Education Goals. Mr. Capello?
Thank you again, Mrs. Fitzwater. We're seeking the board to approve the following goals for the 24-25 school year, and that summary document is listed or attached in the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Capello. I imagine we need a motion on that.
We do need a motion on that.
Mr. Kenny, can I have a motion to approve the Board of Education goals for this year?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Meeker?
Aye.
Oh, aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. And moving on to Section 17, Public Comment. During the public comment section of the meeting, the board will seek public comment on any item. Members of the public are reminded that if they wish to speak, when called upon, participants should state their first and last name and address clearly for the record. In accordance with the Cinnaminson Board of Education Bylaw 0164.6, comments will be limited to a maximum of 4 minutes per person. The comment period will not exceed 30 minutes. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, the board will not publicly discuss or comment on matters involving personnel, litigation, negotiations, or attorney-client privilege.
Good?
We're good.
Brittany Relvis, Cinnaminson. I missed all you guys. I'm sorry. I've been busy, man. But still, on it like white on rice. Couple things. I just wanted to clarify because met with some of the candidates that were running, and since they're current candidates or current board members, I wanted to clarify because I think there was some misinformation. I don't like to provide, oh, look at this, misinformation. So I asked, and I would have asked it if I'd been here, but I asked about the trailers. All right, I'm not going to call them cottages because let's call them what they are. They're trailers, okay? So my question was about the trailers because I sat at a dance class not that long ago and listened to parents, have a conversation on the side, and of course I can't just help myself, so I had to get involved in that one. And the biggest concern was that their kids were in trailers all day long that don't have bathrooms. So my first thought is safety, which you guys know that I come here all the time and talk about safety. So we, broke the mold, even though I had an SRO in 2002 when I graduated. But anyway, we have SROs in the building, and my question was safety. So where are these kids going when they have to use the bathroom, right? So I asked my daughter and a couple other students, and I was told that they're given the teacher's swipey, which is a security concern, okay? I mean, anyone that works at a building that gets assigned a swipey, which everyone knows what I'm talking about, to access a locked facility or door, that swipey is assigned to you and you only. So I'm a little confused on why the kids are just handed a swipey to go to the bathroom. And then also, our campuses aren't locked. So I guess my question is, we're just letting these kids go at New Albany? So I said it was a kindergarten class. So excuse me, Ms. Fitzwater, I'm gonna correct myself. It's actually 2 second grade classes that are
in trailers all day with no bathrooms. And then I asked a question about the child study team, who should really be in the trailer with no bathroom over our children. I asked about the location, and I was told that it wasn't public information yet. But then, after making a couple phone calls and doing some research, it was on the agenda last month. It was public information. It's just right behind the Wawa. So they get some beautiful building when we've got children in trailers. So I'm wondering who's paying to clean those buildings? Does that mean our staff here now that does a great job in these facilities are now going to be cut a little short because they got to go clean over there? I don't know, it's just very strange. Just got a lot of questions. I know the board was taken to see a trailer, but you're not going to answer me, but just out of curiosity, were you taken to a trailer that didn't have a bathroom? That's all. Have a great night. Oh, wait, one more thing. Shout out to Mr. Gorman. Yo, everything coming out in Portuguese, in Turkish, in Spanish, that is what's up. I mean, I talk about this all the time. You guys know how I feel about this, too. We got to do better. I mean, even looking at those nonsense scores, I exempt my kids from, so those ain't my kids failing up there, just to be clear, okay? We got to do better. We got to do better. Ms. Taps, I know I had a conversation with you. We have to do better. We got to, I mean, this is not, we don't live in a bubble here in Cinnaminson. We got to do better. We got to hire better. We got to think outside the box, start coming up with some incentives. This is a great town. Everybody wants to be here.
Thank you, Ms. Relvis. That's 4 minutes.
Get the adults here to teach to these kids, okay?
Thank you,
So that's all I got to say, and maybe rethink the superintendent's
Relvis. That's
contract, all
4
right?
minutes.
Have a great night, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Mrs. Relvis.
You are so welcome, Mr. Capello.
Any other members of the public who'd like to comment at this time?
Edie. So I'll add to her comment actually about the facilities for a child study team. So I used to do facilities for work, and I know that when we lease a building, it's not just you walk into a beautiful office space, right? The office space is one fee and one charge, but then the build out of the space itself is a whole other beast that you have to deal with. Usually that entails scrapping the building, putting up walls, putting up offices, making it secure. It's a child study team, which means that there have to be private offices. What does that bill look like? And did we quote that before we leased the building? Because the lease itself is about $102,000 over, I think, 3 or 4 years. And again, I don't have my notes, but my concern is $101,000 or $102,000 plus the build out, plus janitorial. Are we using our staff? Are we hiring? So it's not $102,000. This can be $500,000 we're talking about. We have to use specific labor because it's for a school. A lot of things go into play for that. So when are we going to see the whole cost of that? And it is a concern, right? If we're having little kids in trailers, like we could have easily stuck the child study team in a trailer. Actually, they don't even really honestly need space. Like they're in and out of buildings all day. So they could have used spaces within the buildings if we are so strapped for space, one. And number two, if we don't have the funds that we can allocate to students that are struggling, maybe we should have rethought that spend and spent it somewhere else where it really, really mattered, like our kids. So that's my 2 cents. Have a good night.
Any other members of the public who'd like to comment at this time?
Okay, we're moving on to item 18, board comments. Mr. Kenny?
Thank you, Mrs. Fitzwater. Congratulations to the Cinnaminson High School Marching Band for the #1 ranking in their competition bracket recently. Great job. Congratulations to the Cinnaminson tennis team that won the BCSL tournament earlier today, and to all of our Play Unified athletes. Keep up the good work. Thank you to our student representatives for their excellent reports again tonight. Thank you to everyone who came out tonight. We appreciate your time, comments, and questions. And thank you to Mrs. Bogus, if I'm saying that right, and Ms. Kim for the Hispanic Heritage event today in the high school. Our Rush students learned a lot about Hispanic heritage and had a great time. And lastly, the next regularly scheduled meeting is November 19th at 7 PM right here in the middle school cafeteria. More information can be found on the district website. Thank you. Good night.
Mr. Bromhall, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Nope.
Nope, I'm sorry.
Executive.
Mr. Bromhall, can I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Topps. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're moving into executive session. We will not be making any business after the executive session. So have a great night.